first time. Boy, that just hit me. I was on a webinar a couple weeks ago with Lance Ford. He's an incredible guy. Wrote a book called Unleader. You got to check him out. He's fantastic. But Lance said this: I can just imagine some of us going to heaven one day, sitting around a circle and being there with the Apostle Paul. He's like, dude, tell me your stories. Like, well, man, like this one time I wanted to share my faith and people made fun of me. And it was like really hard. So I didn't really talk about Jesus for a while because people thought I was weird. What about you? And the Apostle Paul's like, yeah, I was beaten, shipwrecked, thrown in prison a few times. You know, people tried to kill me. I was on the run for my life. Like, just think about how weak and kind of tame our version of faith has become. When I read this, and you see about boldness and these people that were like unafraid. And we talked about last week, the background of it is you get these uneducated common people, but because of what they had experienced, because they had been with Jesus, they were filled with all kinds of passion and boldness. They're like, go ahead, you can do whatever you want. You can even kill me, but I'm not afraid, right? Because Jesus has actually taken away the sting of death. He died and came back. So even death has lost its sting. They're like, if you believe in Jesus, we'll kill you. They're like, cool, right? Hold my beer, whatever. Take me out. I'm in a brewery. I had to use that, right? Take me out. I'm not afraid because I have Jesus on my side. So there's this like boldness and depth to faith that's so much beyond. I just think it's weak and pathetic when faith is reduced to, let's just beg people to come to something where we feel like we need to entertain them. But there's a depth here of these people sharing life and a journey and a hope that they're like, we're actually unafraid and we're driven by something that can't be stopped. It sort of has this flavor of the gates of hell won't prevail against the church, doesn't it? The gates of hell won't prevail against that. The gates of hell could easily prevail against a whole bunch of people that were just trying to entertain, right? But people that actually legitimately love and care about their faith and live in community, there's something deeper that you can't stop that. You can even kill people. You can't silence them. There's something more to that. It's beautiful. So what else did you see happen as a result of this? These guys came out of prison. They're coming back. They're like, they tried to kill us. They threw us in prison. What else do you see as a result of these guys coming back to their friends and telling their stories? You can look back, Acts 4, 23 to 37. You can look back if you need to. What else do you see happening there? Okay, they sold all their properties and they took the proceeds and they used it to meet the needs of the people around them. Okay, this isn't institution, right? This is more like, these people are my friends. And if my friend is hurting, then I am willing to give up my stuff to help my friend. Do you have friends or family members that you've been willing to sacrifice for? Like, give up your stuff to help them out? Maybe give your stuff to them, or give your money to them, or give your time to them, because they matter to you, right? Part of the image of church and Acts that we've been talking about over the past several weeks is, does church look more like a service or a family in Acts? Come on, say it louder. Looks more like a family. It's like a group of people that you know their names. You know their struggles. You share your hearts. It's beyond just an event that you attend, but it's a group of friends that you belong to. And so if your friends are going through something, you go, hey, cool, I'll help you. We'll share. Let's talk about that. What do you need? Let's do something. So let me ask you this. In your micro churches, some of you, what are some of the things that you have seen God do? In what ways have you seen people help each other physically, tangibly? What are some of the things you've seen happen as you commit to like sharing a journey with some other people? You had friends get married in your living room. I'd say that's sharing the journey, right? We're going to actually have a wedding in our house. Yep. What else? What's that? Help people move? Yeah, we've helped a lot of people move. There's a lot of like moving boxes for sure. Yep. I know for you, Jenny, like you've had friends pop into your house when you're not even home, right? Take naps in your home. Yeah, people know where your key is. Yep. Yep. People are making dinner on my stovetop and doing my dishes. That's pretty cool. I'll take that. Can always make food for me and do my dishes. I'm down with that. What else? Watch people come through and out of addiction. Yeah. Yep. That's beautiful. What else have we seen? I've watched people write each other into their wills. If I die, my kids are going to you. How beautiful is that? I watched someone in our micro church who was going through some intense medical bills. And as a community, we said, how much? And the person said $9,000. And the other family wrote a check out of their savings for $9,000 and paid their medical bills. It's radical, right? Pretty insane. What else have you seen? What about you people? Travel together, vacations. Yep, weekend trips. Share week-long trips. You learn a lot about a person in a week-long trip, don't you? Yeah. You have to learn how to forgive each other when you spend a week together. Man, why does that guy leave all his crap out all the time? Clean up after yourself. What are you doing? You share the journey together. It's the good and the bad for sure. Yeah. Hearts, struggles. What else? Okay. You have people live with you. Yep. So have we. Yep. Beautiful. Gosh, really fantastic. So you get, yep, share the simple things. Yep. I mean, we've had people give each other jobs. Give each other jobs. Yep. We watch stuff like, you don't need to buy a snow blower or a new mower because I got one. You can use mine so we can share each other's resources. What's the point in all of us going out and spending more money when one person has a resource? We can help each other. It's really beautiful. Is this attractive to you? This vision of what the church could look like? Is that attractive? Or would you prefer that you just go and sit amongst a crowd of people and hear a lecture and leave? Which one is more, do you think, the image that Jesus had in mind? I said participatory. The first one, family, right? Yeah, for sure. I mean, what did Jesus have with the disciples? What did it look like? What did they do together? Everything. Everything. What are some images that pop into your head? What do you think of with Jesus and the disciples? They ate together, right? They ate together all the time. Sure. So much so that when Jesus was leaving, he said, here's how I want you to remember me. A meal and bread and wine around the table. Now, think about this. How many times had Jesus shared a meal and bread and wine around the table with the disciples? Like every day, right? And so the point was like, when I'm gone, every time you do this, don't forget me. It's like I'm here at the table with you. And I am with you always. Right? I'll never leave you or forsake you. Cheers, guys. Remember me. It was this beautiful around the table. And so they came together, and it was like a recentering, a recalibrating around Jesus. Every meal became a common union. It became holy. Every meal was like sacred. It was like, let's remember that there's something more important to our life and our purpose and our shared journey. It's really beautiful, right? So they ate together. What else? What are some of the other things that we see happening with them? Yeah. They traveled together. They learned together. Yeah. So you see them on boats. You see them walking. Do you see them on hilltops? Do you see them sitting around tables with other groups of people? Do you see them amongst the poor? Do you see them amongst the religious? Do you see them amongst gluttons and tax collectors and prostitutes and drunks? Yes. You see Jesus taking the disciples on a literal wild ride. It was a wild ride. It was a journey. It was a shared life. It was a shared life. So what does that mean for us? I mean, what is the church, really? Because the book of Acts is about that. What is the church? What have you seen so far? What is the church? How would the disciples have described it? How would the disciples have described the church? What? It's us. Right. Would the disciples have understood the phrase going to church? Or would they have gone, what do you mean? That'd be like saying going to family. Are you going to family? No, we are a family. What do you mean? I mean, we're going to go in the boat. We're going to have dinner together. We're going to travel together, but I can't go to the family. We are the family. Right? There's a different kind of image. So how would they have pictured the church? A group of friends that they belonged to, that shared a number of different environments, experiences, settings, where sometimes they were able to just relax and say stupid things, right? Jesus's disciples said the most ridiculous things. Sometimes they were like wanting power, and sometimes they, just lost their tempers with each other. They made all sorts of mistakes, but they also had some really good wins together that they got to celebrate. It was really a beautiful shared journey of friends that live life together. And in many ways, you could take movies like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter and see some of these people that share a journey over years together and go, that's actually a better image of a Christian family than so many of the examples of church where people don't really know each other and share their lives together. There's this more beautiful image that you see the church being of a group of people that walk together, eat together, laugh together, cry together, travel together, serve together, forgive each other, go through the ups and downs, the highs and lows, see each other at our worst, and don't get rid of each other. Continue to love each other. Right? There's something rich about that sort of journey. Now, why do you think it's hard for us to do that? Why do you think it's hard for us to do that? Busy. Yeah, for sure. Busy is a huge one. It's hard for us to live that way because it's like, what, you're asking me to spend a ton of time with people when I'm already tired and burnt out and exhausted? And yeah, busyness is a huge one. Yeah. What else? Why else is it hard? Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like the unlearning of tradition and background that it's hard to teach people what they think they already know. And so when you have a concept of church is a building you go to, a service you attend on one day a week for 1 hour a week, it's hard to break that mindset. Very hard to break that. It was hard for me. I grew up in a church. My dad was a pastor. I grew up in a church. And so for me to break that mindset to go, the church is not, Jesus did not die on the cross, rise from the dead, appear to the disciples, walk the streets for 40 days. So he would buy a plot of land, build a huge building, assemble on one day a week for 1 hour a week. Right. It was a share your lives with each other. That's why when it's talked about with Paul, like we shared with you our very life. You knew us. We shared our hearts together. We shared our tables together. We love each other. Love others as I have loved you. There's this beautiful, deeper journey. And it's not meant to beat up or shame people from that background. That's my background, right? But it's an invitation to more, like being the family of God can be more. It can be more beautiful. It can be richer. We can share more of a journey together. It's an opportunity for us to be all that God has called us to be. But yeah, the unlearning is hard. I see on here vulnerability. Is it hard to get close to people because you've been hurt by people? Anybody feel that? You've been hurt by someone, so you're like, yeah, getting really close with a group of people sounds like a terrible idea. Anybody feel like that? No, I've been burnt. I don't want to deal with those people. You know what I want? I want solitude and Netflix. That's what I want. How many people feel that way? It's tough sometimes, isn't it? When you feel like someone's betrayed your trust or let you down or hurt you in some sort of way or left you. You got close and then they were gone. We've been through that kind of stuff, right? Makes it tough. What else makes it tough? Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's a really good point. We struggle to actually interact with each other. And to the point about busyness, I'm guilty of this, right? I'm super, super, super busy. But then like 20 minutes later, I'm telling you about this series I just watched on Netflix. So how super, super busy am I? If I was able to watch a series, what if we spent some of that time sitting around a fire with friends on our back patio? Wouldn't that be a better use of our time? What's that? That make for a different series, yeah. And you know what? People are more entertaining. I'm telling you. Sometimes if you just live the life that we're talking about, that's even more entertaining than TV. You're like, I can't even script this. It's more entertaining. I got here, been raised to do everything for yourself. So it's hard to let people help or be there for you when it's needed. But I love being on the other end of that and help everyone. People can't get close to me if I'm not also open to letting people in. I'm learning. Okay. How many of us struggle to be vulnerable ourselves? I think we talk about taking risk. One of our biggest risks, I think, that we can possibly take is to show our own weakness and to talk about our own struggles. Isn't it? It's easy to pretend like we've got it all together, but the gospel frees us from the need to pretend that we're impressive. That's why like Christians should be known as the chief confessors, talking about what a mess we are. not as the chief, cocky, arrogant, self-righteous people. That's not Jesus. That's not the disciples. Paul called himself the chief of sinners. We should be the most approachable people because we talk about what a mess we are. Like, what if we were known as the people when we came together around the table going, where do you not look like Jesus? And then everyone around the table is like, dude, here's how I don't look like Jesus. Here's how I don't look like Jesus. Now, it's not just our actions, but also our attitudes, right? So if you think about following Jesus as the way that we think, right? The way that we act and our motivations. Are your motivations for what you do always good? When you do loving things for other people, is it always out of good motive? Or do you sometimes do good things for other people because you want them to think you're great? Or do you sometimes do good things for other people because you want someone to notice you? Right? Or to remove guilt, to feel like I'm not that bad of a person because I did this thing. Do we really love other people, or do we love other people loving us? And we use the appearance of loving other people to get that. It's a motivation thing. Guilty. How many times have I done things for other people because I wanted to feel better about myself, I wanted to be liked, but I wasn't genuinely thinking just about them. Man, my good actions are like filthy rags. My good actions are filled oftentimes with bad motivation. And then sometimes the things that I know that I could do that are good, I don't do it. Anybody else there? Nobody? Just me. You're just like, I know that I could do something good, but I just want to go home. I'm burnt out. I'm just going to lay on the couch. I don't feel like it. Yep. Someone said this to me and I thought it was such a great statement. Like, delayed obedience is disobedience. Meaning, like, the reason that I don't take good action isn't because I say no. It's usually, sometimes I say no, but it's usually because I say later. How about you? You got a great idea to, like, love someone, help someone, bless someone, send an encouraging text, right? Drop something off at their house and you're like, later. And then it never happens. Is that your story? Because that's my story. How about it? So it's the way we think, it's our motivations, and it's also our actions that are broken. What if we came together around the table and instead of going, I know all this information about Jesus, and let's talk about other people's sin and their sexuality, and that's oftentimes how Christianity gets reduced to that. What if we came around the table and instead of pointing at people, we looked inwardly, and all of us around the table said, let's talk about where we're broken, where we're imperfect. And then every person around the table started going, hey, I struggle with this. I'm dealing with this. I'm supposed to love my neighbor. I hate my neighbor. Have you met my neighbor? Ugh. How many of us, what if we came around the table and started genuinely processing this kind of stuff together? You feel me? Right? And what if we took the collective tree trunks out of our own eyes before we took the speck out of other people's eyes? Wouldn't that be great? Because boy, I'm a mess. How about you? We don't need to pretend like we got it all together. We're a mess. But thank God that he declared us innocent, righteous, loved, sons, daughters, adopted. And so we get to come together and go, isn't it great that Jesus picks up the tab? Isn't it? That we're declared innocent and holy and righteous. Cheers to Jesus. And we get to, around the table, be like, dude, it's okay. You don't need to carry that. And then maybe you watch God give you some breakthrough one week, another week you regress. And just like Paul, you're like, the things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. Man, I hate that that's my journey. But thank God that he loves us and forgives us and brings us back. And then at times you experience this like peace of God that surpasses all comprehension. You're just like, I should be super anxious, but I feel okay today. Thank you, God. That's pretty cool. We've watched around our table people confess to things like arson, prostitution, addiction, all kinds of things. When you create a culture like that around your table, you're like, let's just talk about it. And I'll tell you this, people will get as vulnerable with you as you get with them. You can't go, let's create a culture of confession. And then you go, hey, I got to admit something. One time when I was at work, I took a couple of work stamps for my own personal postage. People will be like, I can't open up to this guy. You got to get real and raw about like what's going on if you want other people to get real and raw about what's going on, right? Got to be open with each other, love each other. What a beautiful picture possibility. But the last thing that I want to reference here, and I think it's significant, is prayer. Jesus said, my house shall be called a house of prayer. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't pray. I prayed once when, I got into a bind, or I pray occasionally before meals. That's 1. 10 being like, I pray without ceasing, man. Like, it's like prayer is like always, it's my lifestyle. Where are you at? And I'm not asking you to shout 8. Like, I'm not doing that, right? In your own mind, I want you to assess, like, maybe we don't even want to be honest with ourselves. What's the prayer dependence journey look like for you? Do you talk to God? Do you listen to the Spirit? Or no? And if not, maybe it's an opportunity. Would you be better off if you got up in the morning and rather than just like being ticked off and frustrated and late and trying to get somewhere, and you're irritable and angry, and you turn on your screamo music or whatever, I don't know what you guys listen to, you get in your car and it's like you're just rushing off into life. Wouldn't it be great if we just like sat in a little bit of stillness, got our hearts, our minds in a good place with God, even before we rushed off? And what if we paused throughout the day when you're frustrated, and rather than like calling up a friend and be like, you believe this tool, talking to people about other people, what if we actually paused and said, hey, God, help me to love my enemies. Help me to bless those that persecute me. What would you have me do in this situation? What would happen to our lives? What would happen? More peace. More peace. I'll tell you this. If I read that I'm supposed to love other people that are difficult, how well do I pull that off by trying hard? Does that work? It doesn't work. I can fake it, but under my breath, I'm like, you little, right? As soon as they turn their head, you know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. It happens, doesn't it? However, there's something about being with God that there are these moments after having been with God that you feel less of a hatred for someone that you felt 10 minutes ago. Like, you know what? That weight's kind of gone. I felt it. I don't quite feel it right now. I feel free of it. What if we did that more? What if around our tables we slowed down to hear from God and be with God? That'd be great. My house shall be called a house of prayer. So why don't we do that right now? Those of you with your friends or family around your tables in your homes, under your umbrella, Michelle, why don't you guys just take a few moments in prayer with each other? I'm gonna release those of you online. Have a great week. Love you. See ya.